Okay, we have now come to the Asian and Pacific fronts of World War II. We looked at Second World War in Europe, now we're going to look at it in Asia and the Pacific Islands. This map shows territorial possessions of several great powers as of September 1st, 1939, the day the war started, when Germany invaded Poland. Obviously, the United States controls the United States, as well as Alaska, Hawaii, and other islands throughout the Pacific, smaller islands, as well as the Philippines. The Japanese, who, mind you, when they started World War I, had nothing but Japan, basically, now hold Japan, as well as Korea, and they've put Henry Puyi, the last Chinese emperor, as a puppet king on the throne of Manchukuo, which they control, really. They also control other parts of China, of the Chinese coast, and they control numerous Pacific islands. The British, as well, control certain areas. They control India and Burma, going down into Brunei, New Guinea, several Pacific islands throughout the ocean. The Dutch and French are also a part of the war as well, and France is as well, even though the Dutch and the French aren't exactly as major players in the European war. They are pretty major players in the Pacific front. The French control a couple little islands down here, as well as French Indochina, which is now Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos, over there in Southeast Asia. The Dutch mainly control they control the East Indies throughout here, islands throughout the East Indies. And then, of course, there's other nations, such as Portugal, that own a couple islands here and there, but no real nations other than that. Now, many people know that the event that actually sparked off the war was the attack on Pearl Harbor by Japanese planes. Pearl Harbor was an American naval and aircraft base in Hawaii, and here you see one of the U.S. ships being bombed by numerous Japanese planes. However, there had been other preliminary attacks that the Japanese had made throughout the Pacific front. Here you see that they had obviously made the attack on China, as well as southern China, and then they went on to Hawaii. At around the same time as the attack on Hawaii, Japanese soldiers were beginning to build up around the Philippines, as well as around Burma and the East Indies, ready for an invasion. They would eventually go quite far before being turned back. The U.S. declared war on Japan on December 7th, 1941, and in turn declared war on Germany and Italy a couple days after that, when Japan attacked their naval base at Hawaii. They were not going to let it slip through this time. And almost immediately, the U.S. was at war with an army that was far more capable of winning than they were. The U.S. Army hadn't seen much action since the First World War, which had been over 20 years before. U.S. pilots had been fighting in different events during the Second Sino-Japanese War between Japan and China on the Chinese side. But other than that, the army was basically ill-trained and not very large at all. its weapons were outdated. However, Japan's army was new, sleek, modern, and it was very well trained. It was an enormous army, and it was ready to take over all of Asia and the Pacific. However, it was eventually turned back, and we'll see the process that took. However, there were some great Japanese victories before the eventual turning of the tide.